I've just completed a cruise on the world's newest and second largest cruise ship, Royal Caribbean's Utopia of the Seas. It began operation in July of 2024 and is currently offering 3 and 4 night sailings out of Port Canaveral, Florida over to the Caribbean, as Royal Caribbean has called it the world's biggest weekend due to its ultimate short getaways. It cost $1.1 billion to build, is the 6th ship within Royal Caribbean's Oasis class, holds over 5,600 passengers at full capacity, 7,000 people total if you include the crew, has 18 decks, 23 bars, 10 pools, and new and expanded bars and suites such as the Solarium Suite. It also has a surfing simulator, aqua theater, ice skating rink, and the tallest drop slide at sea, just to name a few notable features. In this video, I will be giving you an honest, detailed, unbiased review of my time on board Utopia of the Seas, highlighting the good and also what some may perceive, depending on your personal preference, as the bad. Later in the video, I'll also go over any issues and worries that I may have for this brand new cruise ship. Now, to be 100% transparent with all of you, before we really sail into this thing, I was on board Utopia of the Seas before it was technically available to the general public between the dates of July 15th through the 18th. This would be known as a shakedown, test, or preview cruise, if you will. On board, you had Royal Caribbean's direct marketing team and sales team, all of the CEOs and head honchos, as well as travel agent partners, and all of the drinks, food, and amenities were free on board. This did give me a lot of time to talk to all of the important people to get a little bit more information as far as what Royal Caribbean was trying to do with Utopia of the Seas, which I'm going to outline in this video. Also, in the event that you're curious as to how I was able to get on this preview cruise on board Utopia of the Seas, it's not because I am an influencer. I don't even consider myself an influencer. More of a cruise content creator or commentator, if you will. Nevertheless, I was able to get on board because I myself am a travel agent. I do have travel agent sponsors and partners known as Lux Rally, and we are here to service you in the event that you want to book a cruise, not only on Utopia of the Seas, but Carnival, Royal Caribbean, you name it, a hotel or resort, we got your back. Make sure you check us out. The link will be in the description box below, as well as pinned in the comments. My first day on board Utopia of the Seas started out like any other. I took a 3-hour drive from Tampa, Florida, where I live, over to Port Canaveral. There was a little bit of traffic, however. Royal Caribbean gave us free parking for the preview cruise. I also had an expedited boarding pass that I was able to put on my Apple Wallet, and once I got in the terminal, everything was seamless and smooth until I got on board Utopia of the Seas. Upon boarding Utopia of the Seas, like any Oasis class ship, the first thing you would see is the Royal Promenade. To my immediate left, you have a new feature on board this ship, a bar called the Pesky Parrot. This is supposed to be a new hangout spot, and boy did it deliver. It's very colorful and beautiful looking, and it seems like it's going to be a popular venue on board. It does kind of, in my opinion, give off a Margaritaville Parrot Head kind of vibe from Jimmy Buffett, but still, pretty cool feature. Apparently, the star of the show there was a drink known as the Peanut Butter Piña. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to try it because the Pesky Parrot was absolutely packed. It's a new bar. Totally expected I'll try it next time. But looking around the rest of the Royal Promenade, the notable favorites are there from the other Oasis class ships. You got the Starbucks there, you have Bolero's, the Latin Club, you have Spotlight Karaoke, you have the Royal Shop. They have a new feature there known as Royal Bling. They also have Sorrento's Pizza available until 3 a.m. Heading to check out my cabin, I would have to go up 2 decks. The Royal Promenade is on deck 6, my room is on deck 8, and I'd be staying in cabin 8596. This would be a standard ocean view balcony cabin, and I gotta say, it was functional. It was definitely technologically advanced. They had the USB-C ports, they had plenty of space available, and the room was cozy, something that I would like to stay in if I was on a regular cruise on board Utopia of the Seas. The only con that I had about my stateroom, which happened to be located in the more so forward/mid part of the ship, was that it also was parallel to the Central Park area. There they had restaurants, and you could literally hear noise nonstop coming from that particular area. So if somebody was trying to sleep, I could see it being problematic. I also heard that on deck 14, as far as the staterooms, there is the galley kitchen area that is constantly having noise coming out of it nonstop, so it may not be ideal for some people. However, nevertheless, the rooms were nice. I got to check out the Ultimate Family Suite, the brand new Solarium Suite, as well as all of the other rooms from the Accessible to the Junior Suite. If you want to check those rooms out, I do have those videos available. I will link them right up here if you want to check them out. As I began exploring Utopia of the Seas, the first thing I noticed while traveling in between decks was the new destination elevators. As far as Royal Caribbean is concerned, you only see that on Icon of the Seas at the moment. However, there are other notable lines like MSC and Carnival that has also implemented these new style of elevators. Some people love them, some people hate them. I'm a little little indifferent because they are supposed to expedite the process and they are a lot more roomier and getting people where they need to go in a more efficient manner, but let me know what you think. While walking around Utopia of the Seas on the first day and getting a first impression, everything seemed pretty similar to Wonder of the Seas. You've got your boardwalk area, your central park, all of the other amenities that have been available on the other Oasis class cruise ships. However, there are notable new features on board. For example, the adults only area, the solarium in the forward or front part of the ship, is a little bit better enclosed. That way the temperature can be better regulated. You also don't have the outside wings that you would typically go out to get a good view like you would on the Wonder, because that feature is now essentially part of the new solarium suites. Giovanni's Italian Kitchen has also been relocated to decks 11 and 12, just above the music hall. The top deck on 12 is a bar, and 11 is going to be for the dining area. There is also, for the first time ever, an expanded outside eating area at Giovanni's, overlooking the boardwalk area. The Ultimate Abyss drop slide has also been extended an additional 43 feet to reclaim the title of the tallest drop slide at sea, as it was briefly taken over by MSC's World Europa. In Central Park on Deck 8, the sushi and hibachi restaurant Izumi has also been expanded to twice the size. They have outdoor seating now, as well as a pickup window, which is the first of its kind for that restaurant. The Park Cafe in Central Park has also expanded its hours and food offerings. The popular lime and coconut bar on the pool or Lido deck has been expanded to now decks 15 and 16 and has more of an open deck concept. The Sprinkles ice cream spot has been expanded as well. You also have a new feature on the pool deck known as the spare tire. Passengers were asking for more of a grab and go spot where people can enjoy some quick food, whether it be a sandwich or a burrito. The spare tire is open during the daytime hours. They've also grabbed some notable favorites from El Loco Fresh available to you, so you can literally grab and go. Over on deck 14, you have an expanded Adventure Ocean, which is the daycare area on board. Down on deck 4, you have the brand new feature, the Royal Railway at Utopia Station. Essentially what this will be is an immersive interactive experience where you get a real train ticket, a real boarding time, you board the train, and you essentially go back into the Wild Wild West. There are Wild Wild West actors, and well, it's a feature that has never been seen before on any cruise ship. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to experience this because it was shut down for bits and pieces of the test cruise that I was on. However, I've heard some really good things. Diving into the food portion of this video, I didn't get a chance to try all of the restaurants. In fact, none of you will, which I will go over later. However, the food was definitely amazing. As usual with Royal Caribbean, I wouldn't say it blew me away. I've definitely had better food on other cruise lines. However, the food was delicious. I went to the main dining. I had some steak and lobster, a surf and turf. I went over to Hook and had the seafood. It was absolutely delicious. And of course, they had the traditional food that you'd normally see over at the buffet area. I do want to clear up, however, the Windjammer, the buffet area on board Utopia of the Seas and all Royal Caribbean ships, is nothing to sneeze at. They do have a wide array of food, a lot of options for you to choose from, whether you are going there for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Sailing into my favorite portion of the video, the entertainment, we are going to focus first on the 3 primary production shows on board. You have the production show in the theater, which is All In. You have the ice skating show, Ice Spectacular, and you have Aqua 82 over at the Aqua Theater. Ice Spectacular was great. I would argue better than the ice show, even on board Wonder of the Seas. It didn't blow me away, however, I did have fun. It was a very interactive show, and the energy, the entire show was very upbeat. It wasn't something that anybody could fall asleep to, even if they tried or haven't slept for 3 days. Now, I will say that All In, the production show in the Royal Theater, absolutely did blow me away. I have to admit and be honest with all of you and transparent, I am a little biased. I have friends that are also performing in that show. Nevertheless, there's some of the most talented people I have ever met. As somebody that has worked on cruise ships and theme parks and tours, the choreography was absolutely ridiculous. The only con I would say is that the show was a little long. Nevertheless, I was up and almost out of my seat for the entire show. Even the effects and all of the props that were used were absolute perfection. They even used drones in the show. We have seen this before on other Royal Caribbean ships in a show like the Effectors. However, no offense to the Effectors, I didn't really care much for that show. I'm surprised they even made an Effectors 2. Nevertheless, I believe everything was done properly and perfectly on board this ship and All In. Now, this one might be an unpopular take. However, I don't care. I told all of you I'd be transparent. The Aqua Theater show, Aqua 82, was boring as hell. They had their memorable moments, the high dives and the the tightrope, the stuff they typically do have in the Aqua show. However, right out of the hot gates, it was a very slow start. Now, if you go to, let's say, Wonder of the Seas, even Icon of the Seas, however, Wonder of the Seas, the show Intense is my favorite show by far on land and sea because they have more of a Matrix slash Interstellar vibe going on. The build-up is absolutely amazing on Wonder of the Seas, where on this one, it seems like they are not building something up for about 20 minutes straight. The first part of the show was no build, no vibe, nothing really catching on in my personal opinion. I was dozing off here and there, and trust me, I got my 8 hours of sleep. But as far as the show in general, yes, it was still good, but in my personal opinion, when you stack it up to the other shows on Icon, for example, and especially Wonder, it does not add up. By the way, just to be crystal clear, this is not a jab whatsoever at the amazing performers in this show. They are ridiculously talented. I can barely even swim, that's why I scuba dive instead. However, I will say that I just wish the show had a little bit more intensity to it. It seemed like there was more dance choreography going on than actual swimming and the synchronization of all the swimmers. It seemed very cookie cutter to me that they had the dance routines and then the dive and then more dancing and then the tightrope. It just seemed very pieced together. In my personal opinion, I do believe that Intense on Wonder of the Seas would be better suited on Utopia as opposed to the show that they have there now. As far as other notable entertainment, yes, they do have your musicians and singers in the Royal Promenade, for example, and the Latin dancers and singers over at Bolero's. Very talented people. As far as the overall nightlife, yes, you can do some salsa, some bachata, some merengue, which I did hang out at over at Bolero's. The Pesky Pirate is still open. You can get pizza at Sorrento's. They do transform Studio B into a nightclub. They had the Red Night, which I think was very cool. They also have the comedians in the attic, and sometimes they do a bigger show over in the Royal Theater. But during the later evening hours, they have something in the attic called Alpha Kappa 5, I believe it was. Basically, it's supposed to be somewhat of a college experience where they have beer pong and games of that nature. It was cool to see. So now that the general overall idea of what is going on is over, let's get into the issues, the grievances, the worries, the frustrations, whatever it is that you want to call it. Do keep in mind, this is my personal opinion as well as the opinions of others that I talked to while on board Utopia of the Seas. And keep in mind, a lot of these people also are highly in favor of Royal Caribbean. When I was there, like I said, a lot of travel agents, a lot of reps, and people that work to some degree in some way, shape, or form at Royal Caribbean directly. First up, in no particular order, we do have to talk about the sail away party and just the overall vibe on board Utopia of the Seas. Do keep in mind, this ship is going to be offering 3 and 4 night sailings, aka party cruises, aka booze cruises, whatever it is that you want to call it. Right out the hot gate, it does seem that Royal Caribbean does want to create this vibe, but the sail away party, they tried to have everybody kind of hooting and hollering and dancing and jiving and shaking a tail feather. However, there wasn't, in my opinion, a good center point. This is something that I think is going to be a learning curve, but I do believe the party people have to congregate and have a place where they can essentially find each other. Like every cruise, it is only as good as the people oftentimes that you are around. Yes, the amenities and features do help, but if you're not kind of creating that vibe that you want to have on board that ship, everything kind of falls flat on its face. My suggestion would be, if I may, to, yes, have everybody hyped up at the beginning of the cruise, but maybe gather them around the pool area, or from what I saw, maybe over at Lime and Coconut. That way you can really set the party off and do it right and create that vibe. Also, when it comes to, let's say, the day-to-day or even the evening hours, yes, the ship is massive. There are plenty of things to do. You're going to have people shaking a tail feather at Bolero's. You're going to have people at the comedy shows. You're going to have people doing karaoke. But when it comes to the overall nightclub experience, I'm assuming they're going to change this around periodically. But they started out with the Red Night in the bigger venue, Studio B, and people haven't really got acquainted yet. I would suggest maybe starting the party, the nightclub, and the attic, and kind of have everybody feel it out. And then later on the cruise, when people got acquainted and all the dance people and party people are around each other, then have the bigger nights at the end of the cruise. By the way, I am completely aware that Royal Caribbean is not doing this for the first time ever. They've had essentially this same product on Freedom of the Seas and Independence of the Seas, as well as offering shorter sailings on Allure of the Seas, I believe the ship was. However, considering this is the world's newest cruise ship, it is somewhat going to set the standard for what these shorter sailings are going to be, especially with a ship of this size. Another small inconvenience that I've heard from a decent amount of people that have been on board so far is that the walls for the cabins and staterooms and suites seem a little thinner than other ships, meaning from the galley to any of the noises coming from other rooms, you can essentially hear everything. everything. Finally, here is my overall somewhat worry for this product, if you will, Utopia of the Seas. I understand what Royal Caribbean is doing. I do believe it's absolutely genius if done right. You're offering these shorter party cruises, and in the words of Vicky Freed, she is the vice president of sales, she essentially said as much, that it's a party cruise and you may not be able to see everything. And I could tell you 100% without a doubt that is absolutely true. Ideally, you'd want to potentially come back to a ship like this, considering the price starts out about $400 to $500 per person. It is affordable for people that maybe always wanted to go on a ship of this size, a mega ship, and they can't. Now they can do so. However, with 3 to 4 days, it is almost impossible to do everything. While on board Utopia of the Seas, even somebody like me that has no problem quite literally running around the ship, I felt a little overwhelmed. The first day I went to go see the ice show, Ice Spectacular at Studio B. Meanwhile, the comedy show was going on. You had the other production show, All In, going on in the theater. You had the Aqua 82 show going on at the Aqua Theater. I felt like I was kind of rushed during this cruise. If I decide to go to a late dinner with some friends, that means you missed the show. If you decide to go to the show, you missed the dinner and potentially other shows, and you are worried that you potentially didn't get the opportunity to see everything that you wanted to see, which is, again, part of the essential business model. What I mean to say is that I believe that guest satisfaction is extremely important. You have people that have been sailing on this class of ship for over a decade, and they think they know how they're going to navigate this ship, and then they get on a shorter sailing like this, and just like that, they feel like maybe they have been bamboozled, or they have been essentially nickeled and dimed because they felt rushed and stressed to do everything possible, and they felt the only way that they could is to kind of pay their way through, and now they aren't exactly satisfied. However, on the flip side of that, the pro side of that, you do have a lot of people, from my understanding, that have been communicating with others, stating that they're just going to go ahead and do a back-to-back. So you got a 3-day sailing, and then potentially right after that you have a 4-day sailing, essentially making it a week-long cruise, which is also not a bad idea and a good alternative to not being rushed for a 3-day cruise. Anyway, hats off to Royal Caribbean. Well, I'm not going to take this hat off. It looks too cool, and I honestly have bedhead right now, but they are absolutely killing it right now with the Hideaway Beach and the overall experience. I will 100% be back on Utopia of the Seas, presumably within, I want to say, a couple months after things have kind of somewhat set in. But if you've been on this ship, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you're curious about this ship and you have thoughts, also comment below. And do remember that if you want to book a cruise on Utopia of the Seas, or any ship for that matter, you can check out Lux Rally Travel, the link of which will be in the description box below, as well as pinned in the comments. I appreciate all of you for watching. Thanks for watching. I love all of you, and I'll see you later. Take it easy.